The office building stood tall in the cold winter air, and its glass walls reflected the pale morning light. Inside the building, people moved quickly through the halls holding coffee cups and phones while thinking about meetings and deadlines. Decorations hung near the reception desk with simple lights and a small tree that reminded everyone that the holiday season had arrived. The mood was mixed because some felt cheerful while others felt pressure to finish work before the break. Leo arrived early as always and pushed his cleaning cart down the quiet hallway. He wore a plain uniform and sturdy shoes that had seen many long days. His face looked calm and focused as he cleaned each space with care. Leo believed that any work done with honesty had value, and he treated every task seriously. He did not speak much at work, but many had seen him smile softly when music played from someone's desk radio. Leo's life outside the office was simple and quiet. He lived in a small room near the edge of the city where noise faded at night. Music was his comfort after long shifts, and he practiced singing when he was alone. He had learned songs in many languages by listening and repeating patiently. Music helped him forget hard moments from the past and gave him hope for better days. On the upper floor, Mark, the company's CEO, prepared for the day with confidence. He liked order and control and believed that fear made people work harder. Mark enjoyed being noticed and often spoke loudly so others would listen. He saw the company as a ladder and believed he stood at the top because he deserved it. Many employees respected his position but felt uneasy around him. That morning, Mark planned a short holiday gathering before work resumed. He wanted to appear generous while reminding everyone who held power. Employees slowly gathered near the main hall and stood in small groups. Some laughed while others checked their watches. A few noticed Leo cleaning nearby but quickly looked away. When Mark entered the hall, the room grew quieter. He smiled and raised his hand to get attention. He spoke about teamwork and success and mentioned the holidays in a casual tone. His words sounded smooth but lacked warmth. People clapped politely and waited for him to finish. As Mark looked around, his eyes landed on Leo. He noticed the mop and the cart, and a grin formed on his face. Mark enjoyed moments where he could surprise people. He pointed toward Leo and called him forward. The sound of his voice echoed through the hall. Leo stopped cleaning and felt many eyes on him. He hesitated but then walked forward calmly. His heart beat faster but his face stayed steady. He had learned long ago that silence often protected dignity. Mark spoke again and suggested that Leo sing a holiday song for everyone. Laughter spread lightly through the room but it sounded forced. Leo felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. He understood that this was not a kind request but a test meant to amuse. Leo shook his head gently and spoke with respect. He said that he was there to work and not to perform. His voice was quiet but clear. A few people shifted uncomfortably but no one spoke. Mark laughed and made another comment that pushed Leo further into the spotlight. He spoke as if the moment was harmless fun. Some employees looked at the floor while others watched closely. The silence grew heavier. Leo felt a memory rise from his past when he had once been laughed at for his dreams. He remembered choosing patience instead of anger. He took a slow breath and decided that he would not let shame control him. He agreed to sing but only because he wanted to keep his dignity. Mark stepped back with a satisfied look. The room waited. Leo closed his eyes and began to sing softly in English. His voice was warm and steady and carried emotion that surprised many listeners. Conversations stopped and phones lowered. The sound filled the space gently. As he sang the first verse, people began to listen instead of judge. The song felt sincere and calm. Leo opened his eyes and continued without hesitation. He shifted into another language smoothly, and the tone deepened. The room grew silent and focused. People exchanged glances filled with surprise. Mark's smile faded slightly as he realized the attention had changed. This was no longer a joke. The power of the moment was no longer in his hands. Leo continued singing, and his confidence grew. He did not look at Mark but focused on the song. Each note carried years of quiet practice and hidden hope. By the time Leo finished the final lines, the room felt different. The air felt heavier but also clearer. No one moved or spoke for a moment. The silence broke when someone began to clap slowly. Another joined, and then another. Soon the hall filled with applause that felt genuine and strong. Leo stood still and let the sound pass over him. He felt relief rather than pride. He had not planned to impress anyone but had stayed true to himself. Mark forced a short laugh and tried to speak, but his words felt weak. The room no longer felt under his control. He dismissed the gathering quickly and told everyone to return to work. People slowly walked away, but many looked back at Leo with new respect. Some nodded while others smiled softly. Leo returned to his cart and continued cleaning. As he pushed the cart down the hallway, Leo felt calm. He knew the moment would not be forgotten. Something had shifted even if he did not know what would come next. The office returned to its usual noise, but the memory lingered. Leo cleaned the floors quietly while carrying a strength that no one could take away. The story of that morning had only begun, and its impact would soon reach far beyond the building. The rest of the day moved slowly through the office, and the sound of keyboards and phones returned, but something invisible had changed in the air. People worked, but their minds replayed the moment again and again. Leo moved from floor to floor with his cart and noticed how eyes followed him now. Some people smiled politely while others looked thoughtful as if they were seeing him for the first time. During lunch break, a small group of employees gathered near the windows and spoke in quiet voices. They talked about the song and the calm strength in Leo's voice. One person said they felt ashamed for laughing earlier. Another said they wished they had spoken up. The moment had made them think about power and silence in a new way. Mark stayed in his office with the door closed longer than usual. He sat behind his desk and stared at the city outside. The applause still echoed in his head, and it made him uncomfortable. He did not like losing control or being surprised. He told himself that it was nothing and that people would forget by tomorrow. Leo finished his shift and returned to his small room that evening. He placed his cleaning gloves on the table and sat quietly for a moment. The city lights flickered outside his window. He felt tired but peaceful. He practiced singing softly as he always did, but the song felt different now. It carried a memory of standing tall without anger. The next morning Leo arrived early again. The building greeted him with its usual cold air and bright lights. As he cleaned near the lobby, a young worker stopped and thanked him for the song. Leo nodded and smiled gently. He did not know what to say but appreciated the kindness. More people began to greet him by name. Some asked where he learned to sing. Others simply said good morning with warmth. Leo answered simply and kept working. He did not want attention but welcomed respect. Later that day, Mark held a meeting with managers. He spoke about productivity and deadlines, but his voice lacked confidence. A few managers exchanged looks. They had seen the video online. Someone had recorded the singing and shared it. The clip had spread quickly across social media. Messages and comments poured in from outside the company. People praised Leo for his talent and calm response. Many criticized the way power had been used to embarrass him. Questions about company values appeared online. The situation was no longer small or private. Mark received a call from the board. They asked him to explain what had happened. His words sounded defensive even to himself. He said it was meant to be light-hearted fun. The board listened but did not interrupt. Meanwhile, Leo remained unaware of the growing storm. He focused on his tasks and enjoyed moments of quiet. During a break, he sat alone and listened to music on his phone. Singing had always been his refuge, and now it felt like a bridge to something new. That afternoon, a senior staff member approached Leo and asked if he was comfortable talking later. Leo agreed politely. He felt curious but not afraid. He trusted his own calm. When the workday ended, Leo was invited to a small meeting room. A few managers sat inside with serious expressions. They thanked him for coming and apologized for what had happened. They said it should never have occurred and that his dignity mattered. Leo listened quietly. He did not interrupt. When they finished, he spoke calmly and said he wanted respect more than anything else. He explained that everyone deserved to feel safe at work. His words were simple but strong. The managers nodded and assured him that changes would be made. They asked about his love for music. Leo explained how he practiced alone and learned languages by listening. He said music helped him survive hard times. Outside the room, Mark watched from a distance. He felt anger and fear mix inside him. He realized the situation had moved beyond his control. The respect he believed he commanded now felt fragile. That night the board met privately. They discussed leadership and responsibility. They talked about how one moment could reveal deeper problems. The video continued to spread and public attention grew stronger. The next morning the office felt tense. Whispers moved faster than footsteps. People checked their phones often. Leo noticed the change but stayed focused on his work. He trusted that truth would settle where it belonged. Mark was called into a private meeting. The door closed and stayed closed for a long time. No one knew what was said inside. Outside, Leo cleaned the hallway quietly and hummed a tune under his breath. When the door finally opened, Mark walked out with a stiff expression. He did not look at anyone. The silence followed him down the hall. By the end of the day, an announcement was sent to all employees. It spoke about values and respect and leadership changes. Names were not mentioned, but everyone understood. Leo read the message slowly. He felt no joy or anger. He felt calm acceptance. He believed that dignity did not need revenge to be powerful. As the sun set outside the building, Leo finished his shift. He paused near the window and looked at the city lights again. He felt that his voice had carried further than he ever expected. The story was no longer just about a song. It was about courage shown quietly and respect earned honestly. The next chapter was waiting to unfold. The following week began with a strange calm inside the office building, and people moved carefully as if the walls themselves were listening. Conversations were quieter and smiles felt more thoughtful. The announcement from management had changed how everyone behaved, and the idea of respect now felt real instead of spoken only in meetings. Leo continued his routine each morning and arrived before most employees. He cleaned the lobby slowly and carefully and felt a sense of balance inside himself. The attention around him had not faded, but it had softened. People no longer stared with surprise but with recognition. They saw him as part of the place instead of a shadow moving through it. One morning a woman from the finance team stopped him near the elevators. She thanked him for reminding her that courage does not always shout. Leo nodded and said that everyone carries strength in different ways. His words were simple, but they stayed with her for the rest of the day. News about the video continued to spread outside the company. Local blogs and small news pages shared the story and praised the calm response that Leo had shown. Many people wrote messages saying the moment gave them hope. Leo did not read most of them because he preferred quiet over noise. Still, the impact reached him through others. A senior director asked Leo to join a short meeting later that week. Leo agreed politely and felt curious. He did not expect much and did not imagine change as a reward. He believed dignity was enough. During the meeting, the director spoke with honesty. She explained that the company was reviewing its values and leadership culture. She said that what Leo showed had opened many eyes. She asked him what he wanted most from his work life. Leo thought for a moment and then spoke calmly. He said he wanted to feel safe and respected and able to work without fear. He also said that music was important to him and that he dreamed of learning more someday. His voice did not shake because he was speaking truth. The director listened closely and nodded. She said the company could offer flexible hours and support for learning music. She made it clear that this was not charity but recognition. Leo thanked her and said he would think about it. Outside the meeting room, Mark was no longer present in the building. His office stood empty and silent. People passed it without comment. The absence felt heavy but also relieving. Many employees felt that a door had closed so another could open. Leo returned to his work and noticed a lighter mood across the floors. People laughed more freely and greeted each other with ease. The building felt less tense. Leo believed that change did not come from punishment but from awareness. One afternoon a small group gathered in the break room and asked Leo to sing again. Leo smiled gently and declined. He said that singing should come from choice, not pressure. The group respected his answer and thanked him anyway. That evening Leo walked home under soft city lights. He thought about his past and how many times he had stayed silent to survive. He realized that silence had protected him before, but his voice had protected him now. The thought brought him peace. At home Leo practiced singing as he always did. He sang in one language and then another and let the sound fill the room. He did not think about fame or attention. He thought about honesty and connection. The next day an email arrived inviting Leo to attend a small community music event sponsored by the company. They wanted him to perform if he wished. Leo read the message twice and then smiled. This time the choice was his. He spent days preparing quietly. He chose songs that spoke of hope and kindness. He practiced with care and rested his voice. He felt nervous but not afraid. The night of the event, the room was warm and welcoming. Chairs filled slowly and soft lights glowed around the stage. Leo stood backstage and took a deep breath. He reminded himself that he did not owe anyone anything. When Leo stepped onto the stage, the room grew quiet. He looked out and saw faces filled with respect. He began to sing, and his voice carried calm and strength. Each note felt free. The audience listened closely, and some closed their eyes. Others smiled. The sound wrapped around the room like a gentle promise. Leo sang in different languages, and each one felt like a bridge between people. When he finished, the applause rose slowly and warmly. Leo bowed his head and stepped back. He felt full, not proud. He felt thankful. After the event, people thanked him for sharing his voice. Leo thanked them for listening. He returned home tired but peaceful. The office changed in small ways after that. Meetings included more voices. Leaders listened more carefully. People remembered that respect was not optional. Leo continued his work with the same care as always. He cleaned floors and hallways and carried music inside him. He did not seek attention but accepted kindness when it came. The story of the janitor who sang became a reminder whispered quietly through the building. It taught that dignity grows when people choose humanity over power. The final chapter was still waiting. The weeks after the music event passed quietly but with meaning inside the office building. People settled into new routines and carried lessons from recent events without needing reminders. The walls still reflected light and sound, but now they also reflected care. Leo continued to arrive early each morning and began his work with the same steady focus. He noticed small changes everywhere. Doors were held open more often. Greetings sounded warmer. People listened instead of rushing past each other. The empty office that once belonged to the former leader stayed closed. No name was placed on the door. The silence there served as a quiet lesson that power without respect fades quickly. One morning the senior director met Leo near the lobby and spoke kindly. She told him that his flexible schedule was approved and that support for music learning had been arranged. Leo thanked her with genuine gratitude. He understood that opportunity carries responsibility. Leo began dividing his time carefully between work and music practice. He cleaned with the same care but allowed space for learning. He attended simple lessons and practiced breathing and tone. Music felt deeper now because it was shared, not hidden. Outside the company, the story continued to inspire people. Leo never sought attention, but sometimes messages reached him through co-workers. They spoke of how his calm strength helped others speak up at their own workplaces. Leo listened and felt humbled. At home, Leo spent evenings practicing and reflecting. He thought about how life can turn quietly without warning. He remembered the day he was asked to sing and how choice changed everything. He felt thankful for courage that rose when needed. The company hosted another small gathering months later. This time the tone was different from before. There was no pressure and no mocking laughter. People shared food and stories and stood as equals. Leo attended as himself, not as entertainment. He spoke with co-workers and laughed softly. Music played from speakers and he hummed along quietly. No one asked him to perform, and that respect meant more than applause. A new leader was introduced during the gathering. She spoke calmly and emphasized listening and fairness. Her words felt sincere and grounded. People responded with trust. Leo watched from the side and felt hopeful. He believed leadership should lift others, not weigh them down. He returned to work with renewed faith in small changes. One afternoon, a young intern approached Leo and asked for advice. The intern felt nervous about speaking up at work. Leo listened carefully and shared a simple thought. He said that respect begins when people value themselves. The intern thanked him and walked away smiling. Leo returned to cleaning with quiet pride. He never thought of himself as a guide, but understood that example teaches more than instruction. As seasons changed, the office decorations shifted and new projects began. Life moved forward steadily. Leo balanced his duties and music with care. He performed occasionally at small community events and always chose songs that carried hope. He sang in different languages not to impress but to connect. Audiences listened with appreciation. Each performance reminded Leo of the power of voice when guided by honesty. He never forgot the moment when his voice changed a room. That memory stayed gentle and grounding. The company culture continued to grow healthier. Meetings encouraged ideas from all levels. Mistakes were addressed with learning instead of blame. People felt seen. Leo noticed fewer tired faces and more genuine smiles. He believed respect spreads quietly like light through glass. It does not shout, but it lasts. One evening Leo stood by the office window after finishing his shift. City lights shimmered outside just as they had before. The view looked the same, but he felt different. He thought about how dignity had guided him through challenge. He understood that staying calm had protected his spirit. He felt peace knowing he did not trade kindness for bitterness. Leo left the building and walked into the cool night air. He carried his music inside him like a steady flame. He did not know what the future would bring, but trusted his path. The story of the janitor who sang remained alive not as a rumor but as a reminder. It showed that courage can be quiet and powerful at the same time. It taught that respect earned through humanity lasts longer than fear. Leo continued his life with balance and purpose. He cleaned floors and shared music and treated others with care. His voice had found its place, and so had he. The end was not an ending but a steady beginning built on dignity and choice.